Hello everybody. Before we get on and look at the detail behind parliamentary functions, I just want to look at parliamentary committees. If you can get your head around the different types of these that exist, it's going to make the next section that much simpler. So let's start off by why we actually have them. Well, the first point is that it's all about multitasking. If you've got lots of committees doing lots of different things, then you're getting through an awful lot more stuff than if the entire House has to sit down and debate a particular issue. They also are about specialisation and expertise. They allow MPs to make capital of their of existing expertise and also to generate further expertise by focusing on a particular area. And you'll see what we mean when we come to look at departmental select committees in particular. It also offers an alternative career path. Rather than sort of going into government, you can essentially hack your way up a committee. People like Keith Vaz at the Home Affairs Committee and before him Chris Mullin made viable careers out of committee work. So it might be an alternative to sort of simply following the well-trodden path to a junior ministerial position and then hacking your way up through government. Now, this is the general layout. Now, we're going to go into all of this in much more detail when we look at the individual functions, but you need to know that committees get involved in scrutiny, legislation, and they do other stuff. And then you have these joint committees that do still more stuff. In terms of the exam, this is principally where the action is. And we'll be spending a lot of time when we look at how legislation gets passed and how scrutiny works, at exactly how these committees work. So, that's the general overview. Going into it in a little more detail, the scrutiny function in the House of Commons is performed by departmental select committees. And for any government committee, so for example, you might look at health or education or foreign affairs or pretty much anything, work and pensions. Wherever we have a government department, there will be a select committee shadowing it. And they look at what they get up to. They look at the spending, they look at the policies, they look at the administration of that particular government department. Now, we have a permanent membership, which is to say that you enter a committee, you stay there until you decide to leave. The chair is elected by the members. Normally there's about 11 members, minimum of 11 members, usually it's around about 16. And the membership is in proportion to the House, which means that the government gets a built-in majority, and that's important. You'll see that that also happens here with our public bill committees. Public bill committees, any bill that enters Parliament is assigned a committee to look at it in detail. It will have 11 members at a minimum, 50 members at maximum, but that is never normally as big as 50. It will be somewhere between 15 and 20. But again, the government gets an inbuilt majority, and so that compliant majority kicks in again. Really important to understand that. Both of these committees do very, very good jobs, but in both of them, they have a majority members drawn from the party of government. So that's a very significant point. Anyway, we'll look into all of this in much more detail again when we come to look at scrutiny and indeed legislation. Okay, so that's the House of Commons. In the House of Lords, inevitably they do it slightly differently. There are only 5 main committees, and this is they. Now, each of those supports a network of subcommittees and sub-subcommittees and so on and so forth, which you don't really need to know about. All you need to know is that there are 5 principal committees, each of which has this structure of committees underneath it. So that's the scrutiny function, and those are the House of Lords select committees. When it comes to legislation, committees of the whole House, that is, everyone gets to sit there and have their halfpenny worth. Of course, because hardly anyone ever goes to the House of Lords, it's not as much of a problem as it would be in the House of Commons. So, 2 different types of committees in the House of Lords you need to know about: select committees, committees of the whole House. And again, you don't really need to know exactly how much. You don't need to know the real minutiae of what they get up to, but the more you know about them, the better. What do committees do in terms of their specific role? Well, we will look into that when we look into legislation and scrutiny. If you want to get a march on that before we kick on to that, here are a few resources for you. We've got a couple of story files, Mr. Barker's and mine. Mine is pretty rubbish. I need to go in and have a look at it again. But there's actually some very good comments there. Mr. Barker's, of course, is very thorough and lots and lots of good information. The other thing that's worth looking at is the Parliament website. their section on committees is really excellent. And indeed, you'll see that there is a video. I think, where does it say? Somewhere in here, there's a video. If you follow the link, you'll find the video. If you can't find it there, it's cached on StoneNet already. Indeed, it should be cached right next to this video, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. Again, we'll look into all of this in much more detail when we look at the structure, when we look at the specific functions, the legislating function and the scrutiny function. And I look forward to seeing you then. Questions to the usual address. See you. Bye now.